Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody tonight?
Tonight's episode is going to be a strange one and an interesting one. There's a video that is making its way around the dark web and has been for a while now. And this video is essentially an audio clip. And this audio clip supposedly, according to the people that released the video, was from NASA. It's smuggled out of NASA. And the story here is that NASA intercepted this transmission. Now you might think, okay, well that kind of makes sense because NASA's in space, they got satellites, so it would make sense they'd pick up transmissions. Where this kind of goes off the rails, it gets kind of crazy, is not where the transmission was from, but when the transmission was from. Because supposedly, if this audio is correct, if it's true, this transmission came from the year 2057. And it is a dire, dire circumstance that these people have found themselves in. What we're essentially dealing with here is a cry for help. It is a Mayday that is being sent out. So let me kind of set the scene for you and explain what the situation is in 2057 according to this transmission. There's been some sort of worldwide disaster. It never really specifies exactly what has happened, but there's a lot of radiation and they are sheltering in an underground bunker. The person that is speaking on the transmission has left the bunker and went up to the surface in order to send out this transmission. So you can hear like a lot of wind and stuff going on. So there's a ton of radiation. So most likely what we're dealing with here is some sort of nuclear fallout. Whether it's from a nuclear war that has happened and killed off the majority of the planet, or whether it is some wide-scale nuclear disaster or something. Something has happened that has covered the planet in radiation and destroyed a lot of stuff. Most likely a nuclear war is what I'm thinking. Also, there is a super virus that has spread across the world. And it is called the VTR virus, and it has killed almost all of the animal and all of the plant life on Earth. The majority of both are gone. And almost all of the people on Earth have been killed as well. From what this transmission says, there are only 250 survivors that are left underground. Now, whether that's the total amount left on Earth, or whether that's the total amount that this person is aware of, is not clear. Most likely it's that this person is aware of. But either way you look at it, it's a horrible, horrible thing that's happened. So what I'm going to do is, we have this clip. We have this transmission. So I'm going to play this transmission for you. Now, you have to really listen and try to pay attention because it's kind of hard to make out what the person is saying in points because there's a lot of wind and a lot of background noise that is going on because this person has climbed out of a bunker and is standing on the surface of this destroyed planet. After I play the audio of the transmission, I'm going to read you a transcript of what exactly the transmission says, in case there's parts you couldn't make out. And then we're going to comment and everything on it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and play this transmission for you.
We're down here. We're down here. I repeat, we're down here. Out-of-date, 101, respond. Out-of-date, 101, please respond, over. Whoever is listening to this, we have no more communication. We just have the old radio. I repeat, We are dying. We have no more food, and we have no clean water. We just have clean water for 2 or 3 days. Stop. I repeat, we just have clean water for 2 or 3 days. Stop. All the water in the zone is contaminated. I repeat, all the water in the zone is contaminated. All the people is dying. All people are dying. Soldiers and civilians, even the animals are dead. We're just 250 survivors underground. I repeat, we're just 250 survivors underground. I am risking my life. Coming out now. This perfect. The radiation is making it difficult to communicate on this radio. There's too much radiation. There's too much radiation. I repeat, there's too much radiation here. And we have backup for some infections, but we have nothing against the PCR virus. PCR virus is contaminating everything. It's infecting everything. I repeat, the PCR virus is all over the zone. For whoever is listening, please send some help here. For whoever is listening, I repeat, please send some help here. I'm going to give you our location for you to find us. For whoever is able to find us, please help us. I'm going to give you our coordinates now. I like it. I repeat, I like it. It's 33.018. Our longitude, I repeat, our longitude is 116.301. For whoever is listening, please respond. For whoever is listening, please respond. For whoever is listening, I already give you our coordinates. We're dying here. We need support. I repeat, we need support. Someone is listening to this. We need physical. And we need medical support. We have 6 people here. I don't know how much we are going to leave. We need medical support. And we need vehicles. I repeat, we need vehicles to go out of here. Everything is destroyed. Everything is destroyed and everything is so chaotic there. We can't go anywhere. The bombardment destroyed everything. I repeat, the bombardment destroyed everything around us. We are underground. I repeat, the 350 people here, we are underground. We need support. We cannot even house animals. We have ammunition that all the animals are dying and everything is contaminated. We can't go further. Everything is contaminated. I by radiation and also the DDR virus. We are dying here. I repeat, we are dying here. We need support. The actual date. I'm going to give you the actual date. For whoever is listening to this, we're not able to contact with our base. We failed on contacting our base. I repeat, we failed on contacting our base. We need support. For whoever is listening to this, I'm going to give you the actual date. Actual date is February 17th. February 17th, 2057. I am going to give you actual date again. I repeat. February 17th, 2057. We need support here. Please send some vehicles to medical support. For whoever is listening to this, please send help. We need support. Everything is destroyed around here. We can't go anywhere. Please send help. Please send help to whoever is listening to this. This is horrible. I can see dead bodies around here. Not just from humans, but animals too. I think I got to go back. I think I got to go back. Understand? It's really terrible here. The radiation is hot. And fire is nearby, infecting everything. I must go back.
Okay, now that you've heard this transmission, I'm going to read you the audio transcript of what was said in the clip that I just played you. Now, a lot of it you probably could understand, but I'm sure that there's parts of it that were kind of hard. Because I know for me, I had to listen multiple times before I could get all the words. So here is the transcript of what was actually said. We are here. We are down here. I repeat, we are down here. Base Alpha 101, answer. Base Alpha 101, please answer. Change. For whoever is listening to this, we do not have more communications. We only have this old radio. I repeat, we only have this old radio. All of our other communications are down. We need support here. We need support here. We are dying. I repeat, we are dying. We do not have more food or pure water. We only have pure water for 2 or 3 days, maximum. I repeat, we only have pure water for 2 or 3 days, maximum. All the water in the area is contaminated. I repeat, all the water in the area is contaminated. All the people are dead. They all died. Soldiers and civilians, even animals, are dead. We are only 250 survivors underground. I repeat, only 250 survivors were left underground. I'm risking my life by coming to the surface now. Radiation makes it difficult for me to communicate through the device. There is too much radiation. I repeat, there is too much radiation here. We have vaccines for some infections, but we do not have anything against the VTR virus. The VTR virus is contaminating everything. It is infecting everything. I repeat, the VTR virus is all over the area. For whoever is listening, please send some help here. For anyone who is listening, I repeat, please send some help here. I'm going to give you our location so that they find us, so that someone finds us. Please help us. I'm going to give you our coordinates now. Our latitude, I repeat, our latitude is 33018. Our length, I repeat, our length, 116,301. And that is the end of the transmission. Now, as you heard during this transmission, there was what sounded like wind going on. There was also the sound of what can only be described as interference. Now, this person claims that the radiation is making it difficult for them to communicate by using the device. And what I assume that means by listening to it is that it is interrupting the signal so that you have it kind of cutting a little bit and going in and out and garbling it a little bit to where it is adding extra static in and everything. So is this true? Or is this a hoax? Well, so far, to my knowledge, nobody has come out and said, hey, I did this and it's a hoax. NASA has also denied or refused to comment on whether or not this is real. So we really have no proof either way of whether this actually happened. There are a lot of questions that are raised by this audio. The first and probably the most obvious question is, how the hell did we get it? If this was recorded in 2057, how was it sent to us in our time? How did that happen? Is there technology available in the future that enables you to send messages to the past? Has time travel been invented and being used in the future? And if so, then why didn't somebody travel back in time to stop this from happening in the first place? Or is it something that caught everybody off guard and everybody was kind of killed except for this small group of survivors who don't really understand or have the capability to physically travel back? Maybe the only thing they can do is send a message. These are all questions that came to my mind while I was listening to this audio. Now, I'm not prepared tonight to say that this is a hoax. I'm also not prepared tonight to say that it's not a hoax, because I simply don't know. It seems a little bit far-fetched. It seems kind of unbelievable. But then again, who knows? If we're dealing with the future here, anything's possible. We have no idea the technology that is going to be around in 37 years. I mean, if we look back to the 80s, which is around the same amount of time ago as what that is in the future, whoever would have thought in the 80s that you would have Apple Watches, that you would have worldwide internet where you could talk to anybody at any point in time, where you'd be carrying around little smartphones that had cameras and video cameras and the internet and phone capabilities and all this stuff all built into it, and it could fit in your pocket. There's a lot of really cool stuff that we have now that you would never have even imagined could be real, but it exists. So you never know what technology the future is going to bring. So you have to ask yourself, is it even possible? Is time travel even possible? Or do the laws of physics say that it absolutely can never happen? Well, that's an extremely interesting question and a hard one to answer, because It depends. It depends on when you're asking that question. If you're asking that question today, then the answer is yes, time travel is theoretically possible. And there's multiple ways in which it can be accomplished. One way that scientists are working on right now that they're talking about is using wormholes in order to go from one spot in space and time to another spot in space and time. Now, this would enable you to time travel, but it would also enable you to travel all the way across the universe in the blink of an eye. There's another theory that scientists are working on that states that if you can get close enough to the event horizon of a black hole, that it can slow time and maybe you can even travel that way through a wormhole that opens up there. There's also a theory that was originally brought up by Einstein, where if you can generate enough force in the exact right spot, then point A can become point B, can go on top of each other. You're bending space so that you can instantaneously travel from point A to point B. That also could be a form of time travel. So there's many different theories out there that are actually backed up by some amount of scientific evidence that it could be possible. Doesn't mean that it will be possible, but that it could be possible. So we can't rule this out by saying, well, time travel doesn't exist, so this can't happen. Because it doesn't exist yet, but one funny thing about time travel would be that it doesn't really matter if it doesn't exist now, because it could exist in the future. And if it exists in the future, then it exists now. Because anybody from the future could travel to this point in time if they wanted to, and therefore time travel would exist here. So we can't rule it out for that. It isn't beyond the realm of possibility that there could be an all-out nuclear war that destroys the planet. That could easily happen. That could happen tomorrow. The truth of the matter is, there are multiple countries on this planet right now that have nuclear weapons. Now, we're not talking the old atomic bombs that blew up Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Those bombs will destroy part of a city. We're talking about the nuclear weapons of today that are powerful enough to take out part of a state. Now, if we were to launch a nuclear weapon at Russia, and they were to respond by launching their nukes at us, at all the targets they have marked, then most likely we're launching all of ours at them, they're launching all of theirs at us. Now, if you got countries like China, Pakistan, India, all these other countries that have nukes, everybody shoots them off. If you have some big world war situation, and let's say you have one bad actor that has multiple nukes and they send a couple at each country that they're in a war with, and those countries all shoot off their weapons. I mean, you're looking at a situation where very easily you could destroy the planet. Now, I'm not talking about blow the Earth up so it doesn't exist anymore. The Earth will go on, but it'll be pretty much uninhabitable for us. It'll end either life as we know it or civilization as we know it, definitely. People might survive underground. There might be people that can make it, but it's not going to be many. It'll be a small handful. So all of that checks out. That scenario makes sense. It could happen. The VTR virus, could that happen? Absolutely, that could happen. From the bubonic plague to the Spanish flu, smallpox, AIDS, swine flu, bird flu, there's so many different viruses and diseases out there that have swept the planet and killed lots of people. So it's not unheard of for that to happen. And in the age of bioterrorism, which is where we are, and it's only going to get worse. As science progresses and people understand more and more about how these things work, you're going to have more people that are able to create viruses and superbugs and deadly biological warfare at home in their own labs. It's only a matter of time before some crazy person out there decides they want to take out a lot of people. And all it takes is for it to get loose. Because in the world we live in now, it's not like in the old days where you didn't travel very far. So if something broke out in your state might be affected, but they could quarantine you and they could get it contained. Now, if this thing gets released in a stadium somewhere or a mall or something like that, some of those people are going to hop onto planes and fly to other places. And boom, it's out and it spreads everywhere. So it's not only extremely possible, but highly likely that something like the VTR virus will, in fact, break out someday. So that makes sense. There was nothing really about the audio clip that rang untrue to me, other than the fact that it's from the year 2057. That kind of makes it a little iffy, but there was no glaring things that just popped out like, okay, this is absolute nonsense. So I'll be interested to hear what you guys think. So if you're watching this on YouTube, down in the comments section, let me know what you think about this clip. Let me know if you think it's real or if you think it's not. And even if you think it's not real, even if you think it's a hoax, what do you think of the possibility of something like that happening? Because all of the pieces are in place already for this exact scenario to play out. All it takes is the wrong sequence of events. Now, one bit of good news about this is even if this is real and this clip is 100% genuine and this actually happened in the year 2057, what we're looking at here is not a definite future. What we're looking at is one possible timeline. The past is fixed, but the future is always in flux. It changes constantly. If you've ever heard of a thing called the butterfly effect, what that essentially says is that a butterfly could flap its wings on one side of the planet and change the entire world on the other side of the planet. Now that sounds crazy, but what that essentially is saying that every action has consequences, and it has a lot of unforeseen consequences. Every little thing, no matter how small, affects other things, and it creates a chain reaction that spreads and becomes a much larger thing. So simply by choosing to turn left instead of turn right on your drive home, you could very well change the future and completely stop this from even happening. Who knows? So I wouldn't worry too much about this being our future, this exact scenario of this call, because it could already have changed. It could change over and over and over again. The future is not fixed. Now, the idea of something like this happening in the future, that you should probably worry a little bit more about, because it's very, very possible. And frankly, honestly, I don't see any way around it. As long as there are all these countries that have nuclear weapons and the kind of powerful nuclear weapons they have, there's always a risk that something like this could happen. As long as you have countries that are creating deadly diseases in the lab to use against other countries, there's always a risk that something's going to get out and you're going to have some major plague that hits the earth and kills everybody. There's always that risk. So what I want to do now is I want to throw over to Old Boy and get his opinion on the audio clip and get his opinion on this scenario playing out in the future. So Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Thank you, brother, and Happy New Year, guys. One, I would love to do a show about the dark web. We have to be very careful because you all know what the dark web is. It's got stuff you're not supposed to really be messing with. But one, the story of it coming from the dark web, right there could be iffy, because not everything from the dark web is real. It's either fake or somebody made up something to make it look scary, because the dark web, what it is a lot of stuff that's illegal you can get there and see there. People getting killed, murdered, there's all kinds of stuff. Everything, I don't want to get into it, but everything imaginable is that you could get on the dark web that isn't legal. Anything. So, like, I deal with the dark web because of debit boxes. You know, the boxes that's supposed to be got a demon in or a ghost or something. You can get them from there, or you can get all kinds of stuff. But yes, there's this video. There's videos of sacrificing, all kinds of stuff. We don't want to get into that because I can only say so much. But me personally, the problem I have is I listen to the video. It sounds like it could be true. The problem is a lot of things on the dark web are fake too, or made up to make it scary. I highly doubt it's real. NASA, I'm not surprised they're going to say it's real or not because they don't want to get any media to it. It possibly could. I'm not going to say it's impossible. I don't believe it. But it is something that can happen one day. He's right with the viruses we have, the Ebola, any of these nuclear Holocaust could happen. We could blow up the world. Actually, we could blow up. America could blow, and Russia could blow the world off the map. It could happen. It probably won't because everybody knows that. Even though these countries can do it, they also realize it's going to kill them too. There's no winning in this. But you also have people who just don't care. And I do agree with James on one thing. Somebody one day is going to try to kill a lot of people with one of these diseases. A disease that hasn't been found yet, or it's coming. That could happen. Like the Black Plague, that could happen. Kill everyone. Also, like the 28 Days Later movie, Zombies. They said there is a virus that can make people that crazy. Not zombies, but just lose it, rabid. There already is with bath salts and stuff like that. That's drugs. But there's going to be a disease one day that can make people do that. I believe that. I believe all this. I believe this could be a future one day. It could be just something of another dimension, another time. That could be a possibility. Like James said, it's not written in stone yet. We can change our future. It's not in destiny. Like you can go one route or go to the other. It could totally change your whole life. You could be living a whole different life and it can get changed in a split second going another way. Like he was saying. And that could happen. I believe that totally, 100% that. I believe that your destiny isn't fulfilled. You can change it. Listening to the audio, it is weird though. I wonder where they got it, but it probably is somebody messing around using the dark web. Like I said, there's a lot of things. There's movies about the dark web. There's a show on Showtime about the dark web. Well, like I said, I would mind do a show about this because we could do a couple shows about the dark web of what you can do. You can hire hitmen, all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's what it's famous for. There's hackers. You can hire hackers, or hackers will hack your account. I've heard stories. Just everything you can imagine. To adult, to things you're not supposed to see, people murdering, all kinds of stuff you could see. That's why it's illegal to go on the dark web. You have to have a proxy. You're not even supposed to be on that at all. Plus, the cops are on there waiting for seeing to catch people, do stuff on here. But there's a lot of crazy things I've seen on just people are showed it on YouTube, or, we've all probably saw some stuff on there. I never really actually went on the dark web. I've seen stuff that's been taken off the dark web. It's been put on YouTube, or people put it on videos and stuff. And whatever it is, if it is real, it might be from another dimension. It could be from another future. If we could split time, we can split dimensions. If that's happened in the future, I don't believe it's true. I believe it could be a possibility. Nothing's impossible, and I think that this was a really good thing to do about this show because it's interesting. It's something we really haven't done. One, we're talking about time travel in the future, and dimensional, and we're also talking about the dark web. So we get 3 different shows in one, and it's a mystery too. So you got 4. It's an unsolved mystery. We don't know if it's real or not. I would say about 70% it's probably not real, but there's always a chance. I'll give it 30%. I'm giving it 30%. I suggest not to go to the dark web to find this because there's other stuff you can get in a lot of trouble going on the dark web. And you can get yourself in a lot of problems by the police. You can get somebody to hack your whole life. You just don't want to go there. I know people are going to do it anyway because they don't care. What's the dark web? I'm checking it out. I watched it on Showtime. I've got, you do it, it's on you. We're not promoting the dark web. Never would be. Please try not to go on it. If you want to see this video, watch it. Tell us what your opinion is on the audio of it and check it out. Tell us what you think. We would love to know what you guys think. We love to hear feedback. Like I said, you guys can tell us shows you want us to do, and we'll do them. Maybe we could talk more about the dark web, and we can do a whole show about it. I told you guys. And that would be a cool show, but like I said, we'll have to watch what we talk about because there's a lot of things that happen on the dark web or can't really talk about because it's illegal. So this was a really interesting show. I mean, I'm really glad I got to do it because it's something I've talked about doing before about the dark web. And then, we've talked about time travel and videos, and there's other stuff people are saying they're from other. We've done a show about some guy that said he was from a future, couple hundred years ago, and we knew he was fake, but it's interesting because it's still something that has to do with sci-fi. This has to do with sci-fi, horror, Armageddon, time travel, dark web. There's all kinds of stuff you can put this under category. So it works perfectly for the show we do. And like I said, I believe it's probably not real, but there's a possibility it could be. But it's going to happen one day. One day, you guys like Mad Max is going to happen. There's too many people in the world, over 8 billion people. And we're going to keep growing and growing to the point is we're not going to have enough food, not enough jobs, clothing to keep these people alive. And that's when everything hits the fan. All hell breaks loose. You don't have enough food, phantom, disease, people get tired of it, make something in the laboratory, or they buy it from some government and hates everybody, and then they release it and everybody dies, majority. Except some people who got in the ground or got lucky. What people don't even radiation, you guys seen Planet of the Apes. You're not going to die right away. You will just rot away over time. Some people they'll be mutated, and then they'll die a year or two later. It matters how bad the radiation is. You guys seen Chernobyl. There's people who live outside of it, lived for 5 or 6 years. They die eventually, but it's going to be a slow process. It matters how much radiation. You can get radiation that can kill you right then and there. But over time, it's not enough radiation. But I believe it. It sounds like somebody took something from Planet, because that's what it sounded like. Planet of the Apes, the water was poisoned. They only have so much. It sounds like an old movie. But it could be real, it could be fake. It's probably fake. But it's interesting. So there you go, James. That's all I got to say.
Our planet is absolutely fascinating because it has a built-in series of checks and balances that keeps everything in check. Our population, I do not believe, will ever reach a point that is unsustainable. The reason I say that is because if you look back through history, something always happens. Something catastrophic always happens that kills a whole bunch of people whenever there gets to be too many. It's either us, mankind, there gets to be too many people, everybody's all over everybody, and it gets annoying, and you have fights, and you have wars, and we end up killing a bunch of people, and that reduces the population, gives us more room to spread out. Or, in the absence of major worldwide wars that curb the population enough, nature always seems to come through with some sort of plague Whenever you have too many people in too confined of a space, disease breaks out, always. That's why schools are breeding grounds for colds and flus and all that kind of stuff. Whenever you have masses of people together, you have disease. So when the Earth's population gets too large, there always is a new disease that comes along that'll wipe out a whole bunch of people and get the population back in check again. It's fascinating. It's horrible, but it's fascinating. Now, on that same vein, I want to talk for a minute about the zombie apocalypse thing. Because that's another subject that people laugh about, but to me is extremely interesting. Because the way my mind works, I don't just dismiss something and say, oh, that's bull. That'll never happen. I kind of look at it from every angle and say, if it was to happen, why would it happen? How could it happen? What exists today that could eventually become the cause of that? Old boy mentioned certain drugs and stuff like that that could do it. I tend to think that the disease that is most likely to cause a zombie apocalypse already exists. It's already here. And it's been here for a long, long time. I'm speaking about rabies. Now, if you look at rabies, in animals, when an animal is rabid, it gets crazy, it foams at the mouth, it wants to attack and bite. Another thing that not a lot of people know about rabies is when you have rabies, like if a person gets bit by a rabid dog or a rabid animal and gets rabies, they're afraid of water. Water scares the hell out of people with rabies, and animals with rabies as well. I think that is a deep down instinctual thing, because one of the problems with rabies is that foaming of the mouth. You also have constricting of the throat. It makes it really, really hard to swallow. So if you drink water, you're very likely to choke. So on some subconscious instinctual level, I think that causes a fear of the water. One thing that has in common with zombie apocalypse is zombies never go through water. Because on a lot of these different zombie apocalypse stories, the people try to get to an island or something because the zombies can't cross over and get them. Zombies are either afraid of water or they don't like water, they don't want to go near water. That's another thing that has in common with rabies. Rabies can be spread through a bite. How does a person become a zombie? They're bitten by a zombie. There's a lot of similarities with rabies already. Now imagine, if you will, a scenario where the rabies virus mutates. Because that's what they do. That's what viruses do. That's what bacteria do. That's what all these superbugs always do. They mutate all the time. Now, some mutations, they don't go anywhere. They don't mean anything. They're not important. They don't change anything major, and it just goes nowhere. But every once in a while, one of these things mutates in a spectacular way that causes it to go from something that is an inconvenience into something that is capable of wiping out life on Earth. So imagine if the rabies virus were to mutate, which it does all the time. But imagine that mutation is that it becomes airborne, the same way the common cold or the flu is airborne. Imagine that scenario. to where now you don't have to be bit by the person or the dog or the animal that has rabies. You can simply get rabies by being around a person that has rabies. It's spread through the air. Imagine that scenario. How fast would that overtake the entire planet? How long would it be before you had a true zombie apocalypse going on? It would be absolutely terrifying. And it would be so quick, you wouldn't even believe it. How fast it would spread. Because when you have these superbugs that go airborne, or that jump species, that happens a lot too. That's what happens with swine flu and bird flu. Is originally those were diseases that were only found in those animals. And then there was a mutation that enabled that disease to be passed on to humans. Once that happens, you're looking at an outbreak. Now, an outbreak can be contained if patient zero is found, the original point, and you can quarantine that area and nobody has gotten out of that area yet, you can contain it and deal with it. If it goes airborne, way harder, especially if you don't catch it right away. But in a situation like that, those things can spread in a matter of days, can spread across multiple states. Within a week or two, the whole country could be infected. Within a month, the entire world is infected. Now, depending on how fast acting and how potent this strain of rabies would be, you could be potentially looking at a real-life zombie apocalypse, which is absolutely fascinating to me. Now, it could very well never happen. That is 100% true. We may never have a zombie apocalypse, and I hope that we never have a zombie apocalypse. But it is possible because you have the rabies virus now, where you have a lot of the same symptoms. You have mania, you have violent behavior, you have the fear of water, you have the desire to bite, and you have spreading of that particular disease through the bite. All of those things line up with the zombies. So it's possible, and it's very interesting to think about. It's a really cool intellectual exercise, and that's kind of what I do all the time with everything. I don't just dismiss things. I always look at them and say, okay, this sounds crazy. It sounds like it is impossible. But what if it's not? And if it's not, how could it be? And then you simply go out and you try to find the evidence to prove your hypothesis. That's how it works. And that's kind of my process, what I do with everything. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know down in the comments what you thought. And we're pretty much out of time, so I'm going to throw back over to Old Boy to get his final sum up and his shout outs.
Thank you, brother. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you're having a good New Year's. It's 2020, a new year, guys. This was a little bit different show than we usually do. Had featured the dark web, kind of cool, time travel, sci-fi, end of the world kind of stuff. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, you guys want to tell us what you think, write in the comment section. Tell us what you think, what your opinion is. Please don't fight, though. That's the last thing we need. But I want to thank everybody who's following us on Parax for almost 3 years. It's been like 2.5 years now since we've been on Parax. We've been doing Staring the Abyss for over about 3 years now. It's a 3-year anniversary. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. We really love doing it. Hopefully we can get on other channels. Like we're going to try to get on, one day Spotify and on iTunes. We're going to figure that out soon. So you guys will be able to listen to us eventually on there. If you want to follow us and listen to all our older shows or newer shows, go to James Hershey's YouTube page, subscribe, and please share. Let everybody know about us, please. We're getting bigger and bigger, so we would love to get more feedback and more fans, Just if you like this kind of stuff, people who love the sci-fi, paranormal, aliens, everything, crypto. Let them know it's about us, and let them know about us. So I want everybody to have a great night. Happy New Year's. I love you. Also, check out the merchandise store. Forgot about that almost, guys. You know where he'll tell you where to go. Get hats. I mean, no hats yet. Still coming one day. Um, Shirts, blankets, iPhone cases, everything you can think of. He'll tell you where to go. Have a good night, Misfits, Sugar Ladies, Monster Hunters, and Demon Lovers. I love you. Have a great night. Blessed be.
This is the kind of show that I really, really love doing. I love these shows where we're trying to figure out if something is real or not, and we kind of get to do the detective thing, and we kind of get to try to figure out if something was to happen, how would it happen. I love stuff like that. It's like a puzzle, and I love puzzles. It's one of my favorite things. So I really enjoyed doing this show. I hope that you all enjoyed it as well. If you did, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And check out all of our other stuff. We have hundreds of shows up on the channel now. We have the TV show that we do, Tales from the Abyss, is up there. There's all kinds of different paranormal news videos there where I actually bring you articles from the news that are talking about paranormal subjects that you probably have never seen before. There's really a lot out there that prove the existence of a lot of this stuff that most people just simply aren't aware of. So all of that is on the channel. It's all 100% free. It's youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. Please go there, subscribe, and enjoy the videos. The merchandise store is teespring.com/stores/staring into the abyss. That's teespring.com/stores with an S on the end /staring into the abyss. That's where all the merch is. As Old Boy said, there's shirts, cell phone cases, pillows, all that stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, the link to the store is in the description. So if you are interested in merchandise and you want to go check that out, that's where you can find it. As always, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for all the love and all the support that you give us. We really enjoy doing the show, and we really enjoy digging into these things. And I hope that you find value in it. I hope that we've been able to answer some of these questions. I think we have. I think we've had some shows that have been pretty spectacular. And I'm not saying that to, toot the old horn or anything like that. Every once in a while we look back on the shows and what we've done, and it always blows my mind because I forget, I do the show and then almost immediately it's on to editing the show so that it can go up on the radio and so that it can go up on the YouTube page. And then I'm on to the next show, man. I'm researching, I'm getting ready for the next episode because it's a process. It's not like I can just wing it. There's a lot of research that has to go into each show. So almost immediately after finishing one, I'm right on to the next one. And it all just kind of goes away, and I work on the new thing. So I kind of don't remember off the top of my head all the different shows we've done sometimes. So when I look back and I see some of them, I'm like, wow, that was a great show. Wow, that was another great show. Like, what are demons and where do they come from? That was a phenomenal show where we proved the existence of demons, the existence of vampires, the existence of giants. We told the origin stories of these things. It was all backed up by tons and tons of evidence. It's a great, great show. The Origin of Monsters was another one like that. We did a show on the Lost Colony of Roanoke, which was fantastic. Our Atlanta show was really, really good. There was so many of these shows that when I look back at, I'm so proud of the work we've done. And I hope that you have all enjoyed it as well. So, as I said, thank you for all your support. Thank you for all your love. Thanks for going on this journey with us, and I hope that you continue to do so. Until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.